Alex adjusted the controls of his small exploration ship. He had been traveling through the uncharted regions of space for weeks, searching for new planets with life. His mission was simple: observe, document, and return with proof that intelligent life existed beyond Earth. The coordinates on his map led him to a small blue-green planet called Virelia. As he descended into the planet's atmosphere, he noticed something unusual. The air shimmered slightly, and the clouds moved in soft patterns like flowing ribbons. He guided his ship to a flat clearing surrounded by tall violet trees with glowing leaves. He had never seen anything like it before. Alex opened the hatch of his ship and stepped out. The ground felt soft and springy beneath his boots, like walking on thick moss. Strange flowers with translucent petals glimmered under the sunlight. Birds, or creatures similar to birds, sang with notes that sounded almost musical but unfamiliar. He pulled out his scanner and began taking readings. Everything indicated life: plants, animals, even small energy pulses beneath the ground that suggested intelligent beings. Alex felt a thrill of excitement. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. As he walked through the forest, he noticed movement near a cluster of glowing bushes. He crouched behind a tree and watched. Small figures, no taller than 4 feet, moved gracefully between the trees. Their skin had a soft teal-blue color, and their eyes reflected light like polished gems. Alex had never seen anything like them. One of the figures stopped and looked directly at him. Her eyes were wide and curious. She tilted her head, observing him as if he were a strange plant in her garden. Alex stepped forward slowly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. The little creature did not run away. Instead, she took a few steps toward him, her movements careful but confident. Suddenly, she jumped forward and landed near Alex's feet. He froze. She stared at him, then did something unexpected. She curled up next to his legs as if she thought he was something soft to rest on. Alex blinked in surprise. He could see her small hands clutching his boots gently. "Hey there," Alex said softly. "I'm not a bed. I'm a person." The little alien tilted her head and made a series of soft, melodic sounds. She blinked slowly and pressed closer, as if she did not understand his words. Alex realized that language was not working. She could not comprehend him. He tried moving a few steps away, but she followed, keeping herself close to him. Alex sighed. He had expected friendly contact, but not this. He looked around. There was nothing harmful in the area, yet she clung to him like he was her only friend. Alex decided to sit down on the soft moss. "Maybe she thinks I am safe," he said to himself. "Maybe she is lonely." The little alien girl, who Alex decided to call Lumi for now, rested her head near his knee. Her eyes were wide and bright, filled with curiosity and trust. Alex felt a strange warmth in his chest. She was small, delicate, and clearly intelligent. Her trust in him was complete, even without understanding. Alex pulled out a small device from his bag. It projected images and lights to communicate with beings who did not speak human languages. He pointed it at Lumi and activated it. Bright shapes appeared in the air. Lumi blinked and reached toward them, touching the glowing symbols. She giggled, a light musical sound that made Alex smile. "Okay," Alex said. "We will figure this out together." He spent hours showing her simple shapes and images. Lumi responded quickly, learning to match shapes with objects around her. She pointed at a flower, and then at the glowing symbol that represented it. Alex was amazed. Despite her small size and young appearance, her mind was quick and sharp. The sun began to set, and the forest glowed with soft violet and orange light. Lumi still clung to Alex, refusing to move away. Alex realized he would not be able to leave immediately. She had attached herself to him in a way that was unusual even for humans. He made a small camp for the night. he gathered some fruits from nearby trees and some edible plants. Lumi watched him, and when he offered her some food, she ate carefully, still keeping close to him. Alex felt a mixture of amusement and wonder. This tiny being who had mistaken him for a resting place now depended on him for food and safety. As the night grew darker, Alex sat near Lumi, observing the stars above. The sky of Virelia was different from Earth. 2 moons hung low, casting soft silver light on the forest. Firefly-like creatures floated in the air, creating trails of light. Alex thought about the adventure ahead. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if Lumi's people would accept him. He did not know if he could communicate fully with her. But he knew one thing. He could not leave her alone. She trusted him, and he felt a responsibility to keep her safe. That night, Alex fell asleep on the soft moss, with Lumi curled up at his side. He felt a connection forming between them, a bond that went beyond language or species. For the first time in his exploration career, he realized that discovery was not just about finding new life. It was about understanding and protecting it. Morning came, and Lumi was already awake. She climbed onto Alex's shoulder, chattering in her melodic way. Alex laughed softly. "All right, little one, today we explore, and maybe you teach me your world." As they set off into the glowing forest, Alex felt a surge of hope and excitement. He had come to Virelia as an explorer, but he might leave as a friend, or even a guardian. The adventure had begun, and he was ready for everything this strange, beautiful planet could offer. Alex and Lumi moved carefully through the forest. The sunlight filtered through the violet leaves, creating soft patterns on the mossy ground. Birds with long, delicate wings sang above, and small creatures scurried between the roots of the trees. Alex had never seen a place so alive and strange. Lumi stayed close to him, sometimes climbing onto his shoulder, sometimes holding his hand. She chattered in her melodic language, pointing at plants and insects. Alex tried to understand her, but her words were completely foreign. He realized he could not communicate with her as he did with humans. He would need patience. "Okay, Lumi," he said softly. "I will try to understand you." She tilted her head and blinked at him. Her large, sparkling eyes seemed to study his face, as if testing his intentions. Alex smiled. He knew she trusted him, but he also knew she was cautious. They came to a clearing where the ground sloped downward toward a small stream. The water was clear and glowed faintly in shades of blue and green. Lumi ran ahead, excited, and dipped her small hands into the water. Alex knelt beside her. "You like it?" he asked. She nodded quickly, splashing water gently. Alex laughed, feeling a warm connection to the little alien girl. He realized that her attachment to him was not fear. It was trust and curiosity combined. As they explored, Alex noticed that Lumi had unusual behaviors. She would examine objects carefully, touching them lightly, and then look at him as if asking permission. She seemed both intelligent and innocent, a combination that made Alex feel protective. Suddenly, a rustling noise came from the trees. Lumi froze and clung to Alex's leg. Alex held his hand up, signaling her to stay calm. From the shadows, a small creature appeared. It had 4 legs, covered in soft green fur with bright yellow eyes. It looked curious, not dangerous. Alex knelt slowly and held out his hand. The creature sniffed and then bounded away, disappearing into the forest. Lumi relaxed, but she did not move from Alex's side. He realized that she was not only curious, but also cautious. She would rely on him for protection in this strange world. After a while, they reached a small hill overlooking the forest. The view was breathtaking. Rivers of glowing water ran between the violet trees, and distant mountains shone with soft light. Alex sat down, and Lumi climbed onto his lap, looking around with wide eyes. "You see, Lumi?" he said. "This is your world. It is beautiful, and it is full of life." She reached out and touched his face gently. Her gesture was simple, yet full of meaning. Alex felt a wave of emotion. Despite the differences between them, there was understanding. He would need to be careful, patient, and kind. She trusted him, and he could not betray that trust. As the day went on, Alex tried different ways to communicate. He drew shapes in the moss with a stick, showing simple ideas like food, water, and shelter. Lumi watched attentively, and sometimes copied the shapes with her small fingers. She pointed at a glowing flower, then at him, and made a soft sound. Alex thought for a moment. He pointed at the flower, then at a glowing symbol on his device. Lumi blinked and repeated the sound. Slowly, she began to understand that the symbols represented real things. Alex felt encouraged. "We are learning. Together, Lumi," he said. "We will understand each other." The sky began to darken as the second sun set behind the mountains. The forest took on a calm, quiet glow. Alex built a small fire using dry moss and fallen branches. Lumi watched. The flames flicker, her eyes reflecting the orange light. She did not make any sudden movements, only sat quietly beside him. Alex realized that she was not just curious. She was forming an attachment, the way young humans sometimes trusted someone who cared for them. He felt a responsibility he had never experienced before. Lumi depended on him now, and he would not let her down. Suddenly, Lumi made a sharp sound and pointed toward the trees. Alex looked in that direction and saw movement. A group of small aliens, similar in size to Lumi, but with different colored skin, approached. They were cautious, their eyes studying Alex carefully. Alex stood slowly, keeping his hands open. "Hello," he said gently. "I mean no harm." The group stopped and whispered to each other in their musical language. Lumi ran toward them, but stayed close to Alex's side. She chattered in her language, and one of the aliens stepped forward. Alex realized they were trying to communicate with him, but again, he did not understand. He knelt and tried simple gestures, pointing at Lumi and then at himself. The aliens studied him, then back at Lumi. Finally, one of them stepped forward and touched Lumi gently on the head. She looked back at Alex, then at the group, and finally stayed near him. Alex realized something important. Lumi had made a choice. She could have gone with her own kind, but she chose to stay with him. That meant she trusted him completely, and he would honor that trust. Night came, and the forest glowed with bioluminescent plants. Alex lay down on the soft moss, and Lumi curled up beside him. He looked at the stars above and thought about the day. He had come to Varelia to explore, but he had found something more. He had found a friend, and that friend had chosen him. He wondered what challenges awaited them. He did not know if Lumi's people would fully accept him or if other dangers lurked in the forest. But he knew one thing. He would protect her, guide her, and learn from her. Together they would discover this strange, beautiful world. As sleep took him, Alex felt a sense of peace. Lumi was safe, curious, and full of life. He had never expected to find such a bond in an alien world, but he knew that this was only the beginning. The forest, the creatures, and Lumi herself promised adventures he could never imagine, and he was ready for all of it. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the violet leaves, painting the forest floor in soft shades of purple and gold. Alex stirred awake and found Lumi already perched on his shoulder, humming softly. She had grown comfortable with him, moving freely without fear. Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of responsibility and wonder. "Good morning, Lumi," he said gently. "Today we learn more about your world." Lumi blinked at him and tapped his cheek lightly as if to say she understood. She hopped down from his shoulder and began pointing at various plants, chattering in her melodic language. Alex listened carefully, trying to match her gestures with objects around them. Slowly, he began to understand some of her signals. They walked deeper into the forest. The ground was soft and springy, and glowing flowers opened and closed as if breathing. Alex noticed how careful Lumi was with every step, avoiding certain plants and moving around small creatures without touching them. She seemed to know the forest's rules, the way humans know their cities. Alex decided to teach her simple human gestures. He showed her how to wave, point, and nod. Lumi watched closely, copying each movement. When she tried to wave, her small hand moved awkwardly but with enthusiasm. Alex laughed softly. "Not bad, Lumi. We will get there." They reached a small clearing near a stream. Water sparkled as it flowed over smooth rocks. Lumi crouched down and touched the water, her reflection mirrored back at her. She giggled and splashed lightly, making Alex laugh. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small container of fruit. He offered a piece to her. She took it carefully, examining it first, then biting gently. "Good," Alex said. "We share everything here." He noticed how Lumi's eyes followed his every move. She studied him closely, learning quickly. Her intelligence was remarkable for someone so small and young. Alex realized that while she seemed innocent, her mind was sharp and observant. After their small meal, Alex pulled out his communication device. He had prepared several simple symbols to help bridge the language gap. He pointed at a symbol representing a tree, then at the nearest tree. Lumi's eyes widened. She tapped the tree and then the symbol, repeating it several times. Alex felt a thrill. They were making progress. "See, Lumi?" he said. "We can understand each other." Lumi chirped excitedly and pointed toward a distant hill. She ran ahead, glancing back to make sure Alex followed. He moved carefully, keeping her in sight. The hill overlooked a valley filled with glowing plants and small creatures moving gracefully between them. Alex marveled at the view. "You know this place well, don't you?" he asked. Lumi nodded, touching his hand briefly. It was clear she had explored this land many times. Alex realized that her knowledge could help him navigate Varelia safely. As they explored, Alex noticed Lumi's protective nature. When a small, insect-like creature with bright wings approached, she quickly stepped between it and him. The creature made no threatening moves, but Lumi's instinct was clear. She would guard him. Alex felt honored. This tiny alien girl trusted him enough to let him stay near her while still feeling responsible for his safety. By midday, they arrived at a grove filled with tall, glowing plants. The light from the plants reflected off Lumi's skin, giving her a soft, radiant appearance. Alex carefully observed her. She moved gracefully, touching each plant with curiosity and care. He realized that this world was teaching him as much as he was teaching her. Alex tried another method of communication. He drew a circle in the moss and placed a small rock inside it. Then he pointed to Lumi and the rock. She blinked, looked at the rock, and then made a small chirping sound. Alex smiled. She was learning quickly, associating objects and ideas in a way that showed intelligence far beyond her size. Lumi responded by pointing to a small glowing flower and then making a shape in the moss. Alex examined it and realized she was trying to show him something important about the flower. He leaned closer and noticed tiny insects moving inside its petals. He nodded to her, impressed. She had noticed details he might have missed. "You are clever, Lumi," he said softly. She chirped happily, clearly pleased with his praise. As the sun began to lower in the sky, Alex realized they had been exploring all day. Lumi seemed energetic, curious, and confident. She had fully accepted him as a companion. He felt a bond forming that went beyond communication. They were learning to trust each other completely. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the nearby bushes. Alex froze. Lumi clung to his leg but did not panic. From the shadows emerged a small group of glowing creatures. Their skin shimmered faintly, and their eyes studied Alex with intensity. Lumi stepped forward slightly, chirping in her melodic language. Alex noticed that her tone was calm and confident, not fearful. The creatures stopped and observed. Lumi made a series of gestures, pointing to Alex and then to herself. The creatures blinked and chirped among themselves. Alex realized she was introducing him, telling them that he was a friend, not a threat. Alex held out his hands, palms open. "I come in peace," he said gently. The creatures studied him for a moment, then retreated slowly into the forest. Lumi chirped softly, looking up at him with eyes full of admiration. Alex realized that she trusted him so much that she expected him to handle situations for both of them. As the evening approached, they returned to their small resting area. Alex made a fire while Lumi gathered soft moss to sit on. She watched, him curious about each action. He gave her a small piece of fruit, and she smiled in her unique way, showing contentment. Sitting together, Alex looked at the glowing forest and thought about how much he had learned from her in just one day. Lumi had taught him patience, observation, and the importance of trust. In return, he had shown her kindness, guidance, and protection. He gently touched her shoulder. "Lumi, we will keep learning together. I will teach you about humans, and you will teach me about your world." She blinked and touched his hand in response, a simple gesture that carried meaning deeper than words. Night fell, and the forest glowed softly under the light of 2 moons. Alex lay down on the moss, and Lumi curled up beside him. He felt a sense of peace he had never experienced in space exploration. He realized that discovery was not just about finding new worlds, but about forming connections that could change lives. As he drifted into sleep, Alex thought about the days ahead. The forest was full of wonders, challenges, and surprises. Lumi would be there with him, guiding him, teaching him, and sharing every moment. He understood now that he was no longer alone on this strange planet. He had a companion, a friend, and together they would face whatever Virelia had to offer. The morning air on Virelia was cool and fresh. Sunlight filtered through the violet trees, casting soft patterns on the mossy ground. Alex stretched and looked around. Lumi was already awake, sitting nearby and humming her melodic sounds. She jumped onto his shoulder as he stood. "Ready for another day, Lumi?" Alex asked. She chirped in response, as if saying yes. They set out to explore a part of the forest Alex had not yet seen. The ground was uneven, covered with roots and small rocks. Strange plants with translucent leaves swayed in the gentle breeze. Lumi led the way, moving carefully and pointing out areas that seemed safe. Alex followed, trusting her knowledge of the forest. As they moved deeper, clouds began to gather above the trees. The light shifted, and the air became heavier. Alex frowned. "Looks like a storm is coming," he said. Lumi paused and looked up at the darkening sky. She made a series of short, sharp sounds and held Alex's hand tightly. The first drops of rain fell, quickly turning into a steady shower. Alex realized the forest floor would soon become slippery and dangerous. He motioned for Lumi to stay close. Together they moved cautiously, trying to find a safe place to wait out the storm. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the forest, followed by a deep rumble of thunder. Lumi froze and clung tightly to Alex. Her small body trembled slightly. Alex knelt down and wrapped his arms around her gently. "It's okay, Lumi. I'm here. You are safe with me," he said softly. She blinked at him and made a soft chirping sound, seeking reassurance. They continued moving, finding a small hollow between 2 giant trees. Alex lifted Lumi inside and then squeezed through himself. The space was tight but dry. Rain drummed on the leaves above, creating a constant rhythm. Lumi pressed close to Alex, her eyes wide with concern. Alex pulled out his scanner and checked the forest for hazards. The storm was stronger than he had expected. Lightning struck nearby trees, and small branches fell to the ground. He knew they could not stay in one place for too long. The forest could be dangerous during a storm. He gently lifted Lumi. "We need to move slowly and carefully. Can you hold on?" She wrapped her arms around his neck without hesitation. Alex smiled. "Good girl. We stick together no matter what." As they stepped back into the forest, the rain soaked their clothes. The ground became slippery and roots threatened to trip them. Alex focused on each step, careful not to lose his balance. Lumi clung to him, trusting his every movement. A sudden gust of wind shook the trees, and a large branch fell nearby. Alex ducked instinctively, pulling Lumi closer. She chirped in alarm but did not panic. Together they moved around the debris, finding a small path through the forest that was less dangerous. Alex realized how much Lumi relied on him. Despite her courage and intelligence, she was still small and vulnerable. He felt a strong sense of responsibility. He would not let anything happen to her. She had chosen to trust him, and he would honor that trust with every step. They reached a small stream. Normally it was calm and shallow, but the storm had caused the water to rise quickly. The current looked strong, and the slippery rocks made crossing risky. Alex knelt and tested the water with his hand. It was colder than expected, but shallow enough to cross carefully. "Hold on tight, Lumi," he said. She wrapped her arms around his neck without hesitation. Step by step, he guided her across the rocks. The water rushed around them, and Alex could feel the power of the stream. Lumi clung to him, her trust absolute. He focused on balance and caution, knowing one slip could be dangerous. Finally, they reached the other side. Lumi chirped happily and patted Alex's arm. He laughed softly, feeling relief. "We made it, Lumi. You were amazing." She blinked at him, eyes shining with admiration and trust. The storm continued, but they found a large fallen tree to shelter under. It was not perfect, but it kept them mostly dry. Lumi curled up against Alex, and he wrapped his arms around her. The rain created a constant rhythm, and the forest smelled fresh and alive. Alex thought about the danger they had just faced. He realized that while Veralia was beautiful, it could also be unpredictable. The creatures, the plants, and even the weather could become threats if they were not careful. He needed to stay alert, protect Lumi, and teach her to navigate the world safely. As the storm raged on, Alex noticed Lumi looking at him with curiosity. She pointed to the sky and then at him. He smiled. "Yes, Lumi, I am here. We face this together." She chirped softly, and Alex felt a deep connection between them. Their bond was growing stronger with every shared experience. Hours passed, and the storm began to subside. The rain slowed to a drizzle, and the forest started to sparkle in the soft light of the sun breaking through the clouds. Alex and Lumi stepped out from their shelter, careful but relieved. The forest was wet and slippery, but it also looked alive and renewed. They walked slowly back toward the small clearing where they had started. Lumi held his hand and pointed out small changes caused by the storm, displaced rocks, fallen branches, and new puddles. Alex realized that she was not just following him. She was learning from the environment, understanding it, and sharing her knowledge. By the time they reached the clearing, the forest had returned to calm. Sunlight streamed through the leaves, and small creatures emerged from hiding. Alex set down a small pack of fruit for both of them. Lumi chirped happily and began eating. Alex watched her, feeling proud of her courage and intelligence. He thought about the day. The storm had been dangerous, but it had also strengthened their bond. Lumi had trusted him completely, and he had kept her safe. Together, they had faced the unpredictable forces of Veralia and come through stronger. As night approached, Alex built a small fire in the clearing. Lumi curled up beside him, her eyes reflecting the warm glow. Alex knew that their journey was only beginning. The forest held more wonders, more challenges, and more adventures. But he also knew one thing: as long as Lumi trusted him, and he protected her, they could face anything. He looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the sky and whispered softly, "We are a team, Lumi. No matter what comes, we face it together." Lumi chirped in agreement, her trust and loyalty clear. Alex felt a sense of peace and purpose he had never known before. For the first time, he realized that exploration was not just about discovering new worlds. It was about building connections, forming bonds, and protecting life. Lumi had chosen him as her companion, and he would honor that choice with every step of their journey. Together, they settled near the fire, watching the forest glow softly in the night. Tomorrow, the adventure would continue, and they would face whatever challenges awaited. But for now, they rested, connected, and ready for the next step of their shared journey. The morning on Veralia was calm. Sunlight filtered through the violet trees, painting the forest floor with soft shades of purple and gold. Alex stirred awake, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face. Lumi was already up, sitting nearby and humming her melodic sounds. She climbed onto his shoulder with ease, her small hands gripping gently. "Good morning, Lumi," Alex said softly. She chirped in response, as if greeting him. The bond between them had grown stronger over the past days. Lumi trusted him completely, and Alex had begun to understand her in ways he could not have imagined when he first arrived on this planet. They set out to explore the forest again, this time moving toward a series of hills Alex had seen from the clearing. The forest was alive with movement. Glowing insects floated lazily in the air, small creatures darted between the roots of trees, and the soft hum of the planet's life surrounded them. Lumi ran ahead, occasionally glancing back to make sure Alex was following. Alex noticed how carefully she moved, avoiding dangerous plants and creatures. She had an instinctive knowledge of her world. He realized that if he paid attention to her behavior, he could learn how to survive and explore Veralia safely. "Lumi," he said gently, pointing to a glowing plant nearby. "What is this?" She tapped the plant, then made a series of short chirps. Alex studied her gestures carefully. He began to understand that she was showing him not only the plant, but also how it could be useful. Perhaps it could be food, medicine, or a tool. As they walked, Alex tried teaching her some human gestures. He showed her how to point, wave, and shake his head to indicate yes or no. Lumi watched carefully and copied each movement. Sometimes she got it right. Sometimes she did not, but she never gave up. Alex admired her determination and intelligence. After a while, they reached a small hill overlooking a valley filled with glowing plants and moving creatures. Alex sat down, and Lumi climbed onto his lap, her small hands resting on his shoulders. She pointed toward the valley and made a series of chirps, clearly trying to communicate something important. Alex studied the area carefully. He saw tiny creatures moving in patterns, feeding on the glowing plants. He nodded to Lumi. "I see it," he said. "You are showing me how they live." She chirped happily and tapped his arm, clearly pleased that he understood her. Alex realized something important. Communication did not have to rely on words. Gestures, attention, and shared observation were enough to build understanding. Lumi, and he had begun a dialogue that transcended language. They were learning from each other every moment. They spent the afternoon exploring the valley. Lumi led Alex to small streams, showing him safe paths through the glowing grass. She pointed out plants that could be eaten and others that should be avoided. Alex marveled at her knowledge. She had grown up in this forest, yet she was eager to share everything she knew with him. When a small, insect-like creature approached, Lumi placed herself between it and Alex. She chirped softly, and the creature retreated. Alex smiled, realizing that Lumi had become protective of him. Despite her small size, she had courage and determination. Alex felt honored that such a remarkable being trusted him so completely. As the sun began to lower, they found a small clearing to rest. Alex pulled out a few pieces of food from his pack and offered them to Lumi. She took them carefully, then tapped his hand in gratitude. He smiled. "We share everything," he said. She chirped in agreement, her eyes shining with understanding. Alex took out his communication device and showed her a series of simple symbols. He pointed at the device and then at a tree, indicating that the symbol represented the object. Lumi studied carefully, repeating the gestures and chirps. Slowly, she began to match the symbols with the objects in the forest. Alex felt a thrill of accomplishment. They were building a true connection. Lumi responded by pointing to a cluster of glowing flowers and then making shapes in the moss. Alex examined the shapes and realized she was showing him something he might have missed. The flowers had small insects living inside the petals. Alex nodded to her, impressed. She had taught him to observe more closely, to notice the details of life on Viralia. As evening approached, Alex and Lumi began their journey back to the small clearing where they slept. The forest glowed softly, the colors deepening under the light of the two moons. Lumi chattered happily as she pointed out changes in the forest caused by the passing day. Alex realized she was not only guiding him, but teaching him to see the world through her eyes. Back at the clearing, Alex built a small fire while Lumi gathered soft moss for sitting. She watched him carefully, clearly fascinated by the actions and their outcomes. Alex gave her a piece of fruit, and she smiled, patting his arm. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They were not just surviving together, they were learning, understanding, and growing as a team. As night fell, the forest came alive with bioluminescent plants and glowing insects. Alex lay down on the soft moss, and Lumi curled up beside him. He looked at the stars appearing in the sky above and thought about the past few days. The bond between them had grown stronger with each shared experience, each moment of trust and learning. He gently touched her shoulder. "Lumi, we understand each other more every day. You teach me about your world, and I teach you about mine." She blinked and tapped his hand in response. Alex felt a surge of emotion. This small alien girl, with her intelligence, curiosity, and trust, had changed his understanding of exploration. It was not just about discovering a new world. It was about connection, learning, and empathy. As sleep approached, Alex reflected on the lessons of the day. He had learned to observe carefully, to be patient, and to trust the instincts of another species. Lumi had learned to understand his gestures and intentions, slowly bridging the gap between their worlds. They were partners now, companions facing the unknown together. Alex whispered softly, "Tomorrow, we explore more, Lumi. Together, we will learn everything about this world and help each other grow." She chirped in agreement, curling close to him. The forest glowed gently around them, a quiet reminder of the beauty, mystery, and life that awaited them. For the first time, Alex realized that the true discovery of Viralia was not only in the landscape, the creatures, or the glowing plants. It was in the bond he had formed with Lumi. That connection, built on trust, learning, and understanding, was the greatest discovery of all. Together, they slept under the glowing canopy of Viralia, ready for the adventures and challenges that the next day would bring. Alex felt a deep sense of purpose. He was not alone, and neither was Lumi. In a strange, beautiful world, they had found each other, and that was more valuable than any discovery he had ever imagined. The morning light of Viralia filtered softly through the violet trees. Alex awoke to find Lumi already standing on a mossy log, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She chirped loudly, pointing toward the distant hills that Alex had seen the day before. It was clear she wanted to explore further. "All right, Lumi," Alex said, smiling. "Let's see what is out there today." She chirped again, hopping onto his shoulder before climbing down to lead the way. The forest was alive with sounds. Glowing insects floated above the ground, and small creatures darted quickly through the violet grass. Alex followed Lumi carefully, noticing how alert she remained to every detail. As they moved deeper into the forest, Alex realized that Lumi's knowledge of the terrain was invaluable. She pointed out safe paths over rocks, avoided slippery patches of moss, and even guided him around clusters of glowing plants that were fragile or dangerous. Alex admired her intelligence and instinct. He realized that she had grown up learning about this world in ways humans never could. "Thank you for guiding me, Lumi," Alex said softly. She chirped happily and pointed to a group of small flying creatures with translucent wings. Alex observed them carefully. Lumi tapped one of the creatures gently and chirped again. Alex watched as it moved without fear. He understood that Lumi was teaching him how to interact respectfully with the life of her planet. After walking for a while, they reached a clearing filled with glowing flowers. The light reflected off Lumi's teal-blue skin, giving her a soft radiance. Alex knelt down to observe a flower closely. It was shaped like a star and pulsed faintly with light. As he leaned closer, he noticed tiny insects crawling on its petals. Lumi tapped his shoulder and chirped, clearly proud that he had noticed what she had been showing him. "Good eye, Lumi," he said. "You are teaching me so much about this world." She chirped softly, pleased with his praise. They continued exploring, moving toward a shallow river that flowed through the forest. The water shimmered under the sunlight, reflecting the colors of the plants around it. Lumi ran ahead to the riverbank, pointing to stones and currents as if explaining something. Alex followed her instructions carefully, stepping only where she indicated was safe. Suddenly, a large branch fell from a tree above, landing near the riverbank with a loud crack. Alex jumped back instinctively, shielding Lumi with his body. She clung to him but did not panic. Together, they stepped back carefully, ensuring they were out of danger. Alex realized how much Lumi relied on him for protection, and he felt a deep sense of responsibility. Once the danger passed, they continued along the river. Lumi pointed out edible plants and small animals that were part of the forest's ecosystem. Alex observed and took notes, realizing that Lumi's guidance was helping him understand Virelia more quickly than any scanner or tool could. She was not just a companion, she was a teacher and a guide. As they walked, Alex noticed a set of glowing footprints on the moss. Lumi bent down and chirped softly, tapping the prints. Alex examined them carefully. The footprints were small and delicate, likely made by a creature similar to Lumi. He nodded to her, understanding that she wanted him to follow. Lumi led the way along the prints, guiding Alex through a narrow path in the forest. Eventually, the footprints led to a small cave at the base of a hill. Inside, the walls glowed faintly with natural light from crystalline formations. Alex entered cautiously, with Lumi following closely. The cave was filled with strange glowing plants and small pools of water. Lumi pointed to each plant and chirped, clearly explaining its purpose. Alex listened carefully, absorbing every detail. Suddenly, they heard a soft sound from deeper in the cave. Lumi froze and looked at Alex, her eyes wide. Alex knelt beside her and whispered, "We stay calm and observe." Together, they watched as a small creature emerged from the shadows. It had bright, multicolored skin and large eyes. Lumi chirped, gently, approaching the creature slowly. It did not flee. Instead, it seemed to recognize Lumi and allowed her to touch it. Alex watched in awe. "This is incredible," he whispered. "You have a way with them, Lumi." She chirped softly and pressed close to him, clearly proud of the trust she had earned. They spent several hours in the cave, exploring and learning. Lumi taught Alex which plants were safe to touch and which should be avoided. Alex shared small gestures with her, showing her simple shapes and symbols on his device. Together they communicated in ways neither fully understood but both recognized. The bond between them grew stronger with every shared moment. As evening approached, Alex and Lumi exited the cave. The forest outside glowed softly under the light of Virelia's 2 moons. The air was calm, and the gentle sounds of creatures echoed through the trees. Lumi chirped happily and pointed to the hilltop where they had first spotted the cave. Alex followed her gaze, realizing that she wanted him to climb the hill for a view of the valley below. They climbed carefully, helping each other over rocks and roots. When they reached the top, the valley stretched out before them, glowing softly under the moonlight. Alex was amazed by the sight. Lumi chirped excitedly and tapped his arm, as if sharing the beauty with him. Alex smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. She was showing him the world through her eyes, and it was breathtaking. Sitting together on the hilltop, Alex and Lumi rested. He gave her a piece of fruit, and she chirped in delight. He realized how much he had come to depend on her guidance, intelligence, and companionship. She had become more than a friend. She was a partner in every sense. "We make a good team, Lumi," Alex said softly. She chirped happily, pressing close to him. He knew that whatever challenges awaited them, on Virelia they could face them together. Their trust, understanding, and shared knowledge made them stronger than either could be alone. As they descended the hill and returned to their clearing, Alex reflected on the day. They had explored new areas, encountered unknown creatures, and learned more about the forest. Lumi had taught him patience, observation, and respect for life on Virelia. In return, he had shown her kindness, guidance, and safety. Night fell, and the forest glowed with soft bioluminescence. Alex lay down on the moss, and Lumi curled up beside him. He watched the stars above and thought about the adventures yet to come. Together they would explore every corner of this strange world, face every challenge, and continue to learn from each other. Alex whispered softly, "Tomorrow we will see more, Lumi. Together we can discover everything this world has to offer." She chirped in agreement, her trust and loyalty evident. Alex felt a deep sense of purpose and connection. He had not only discovered a new world, but he had found a friend, a guide, and a companion in Lumi. For the first time, Alex realized that exploration was not just about observing a planet. It was about understanding life, forming bonds, and sharing experiences. With Lumi by his side, every day on Virelia was a lesson, an adventure, and a story they would create together. The morning on Virelia was calm and bright. Sunlight passed through the violet leaves, casting soft patterns across the forest floor. Alex woke to find Lumi already awake, sitting nearby and humming her cheerful melody. She climbed onto his shoulder, her small hands gripping him gently. Alex smiled. Today, he knew, would be another day of adventure and learning. "Ready, Lumi?" he asked softly. She chirped in response, her bright eyes sparkling. Together they moved deeper into the forest, following a small path that led to an area Alex had not yet explored. The ground was soft, covered with moss, and glowing plants lined the trail. Alex noticed Lumi moving carefully, always alert, always leading him through safe paths. As they walked, Alex tried to communicate more clearly using gestures and symbols. He pointed to a cluster of glowing plants and then at a symbol on his device. Lumi watched carefully, chirping, then tapped the plant and made a small shape in the moss. Alex smiled. She was teaching him again, showing him how to understand her world without words. The forest grew thicker as they approached a series of small hills. Streams of water flowed between the violet trees, creating gentle sounds that filled the air. Lumi ran ahead, glancing back to make sure Alex was following. Her confidence and excitement were clear, but so was her trust in him. He realized how much she depended on his guidance, even as she taught him about Virelia. Suddenly, the forest opened into a large clearing. In the center stood a structure unlike anything Alex had seen. It was made of crystalline materials glowing softly with colors that shifted like liquid light. Lumi ran forward, pointing and chirping excitedly. Alex approached cautiously, studying the structure carefully. It seemed both ancient and alive, as if it were part of the forest itself. Lumi climbed onto Alex's shoulder and tapped the structure with her small hands. It responded with soft pulses of light, changing color in rhythm with her touch. Alex felt a thrill. He realized that Lumi was showing him something important. This structure was not just decoration. It had purpose and intelligence. Alex reached out and touched the crystal. It responded to him as well, glowing warmly. Lumi chirped happily, pressing close to him. Together, they explored the structure carefully. Alex noticed patterns in the light that seemed to tell a story. Lumi pointed to sections of the crystal and chirped, helping him understand. Hours passed as Alex and Lumi explored. They discovered that the structure was a kind of communication device left behind by an ancient civilization. Its light and patterns stored knowledge about the forest, the creatures, and the planet itself. Alex realized this was a treasure trove of understanding, and Lumi had led him to it. "You brought me here, Lumi," Alex said softly. She chirped in response, tapping his shoulder. Alex smiled. She had not only guided him, but had taught him patience, observation, and the value of trust. She had shown him that understanding a new world required more than tools and scanners. It required attention, respect, and partnership. As evening approached, the sky above the forest turned shades of orange and violet. Alex and Lumi sat together, near the crystal structure, observing the soft glow of the lights around them. Small creatures emerged, drawn to the energy of the place. Lumi chirped and moved among them, showing Alex how to interact gently and safely. Alex felt a deep sense of pride. Together, they had discovered something incredible. Lumi's knowledge, intelligence, and trust had made this possible. He realized that while he had come to Virelia to explore, the greatest discovery was the bond he had formed with her. Night fell, and the forest glowed softly under the light of the two moons. Alex and Lumi returned to their resting clearing. He built a small fire while Lumi gathered soft moss to sit on. They shared a quiet meal, their companionship strong and peaceful. Alex felt that no words were needed to express the connection they had. "Tomorrow we will continue to learn," Alex said softly, looking at Lumi. She chirped in agreement, leaning close to him. He realized that together they could explore every part of Virelia safely and with understanding. Their partnership was built on trust, learning, and mutual care. As they lay down to sleep, Alex thought about how far they had come. Lumi had chosen to trust him, and he had honored that trust. They had faced storms, unknown creatures, and dangerous terrain, but they had done it together. Their bond had grown stronger with each shared experience, each lesson learned, and each act of care. He gently touched her small shoulder. "Lumi, I promise I will protect you. We will explore this world together, and we will discover everything it has to offer." She blinked at him, eyes filled with trust, and pressed close. Alex felt a deep sense of purpose. The forest, the creatures, and the glowing world of Virelia were full of wonder. But the true treasure was the friendship they had built. In the quiet night, Alex reflected on the journey. He realized that exploration was not just about new planets or strange creatures. It was about connection, understanding, and respect. Lumi had shown him the heart of Viralia, and he had shown her safety, guidance, and care. Together, they had formed a bond that could face any challenge. The two moons rose high in the sky, casting soft light over the forest. Alex and Lumi lay, close together, watching the stars appear. He felt a sense of peace and fulfillment he had never known before. Lumi's small hand rested on his arm, and he knew that their adventure was just beginning. Tomorrow, they would continue to explore, discover new places and face new challenges. But tonight, they rested together, connected by trust, friendship, and shared experience. Alex knew that no matter what happened, they would face it as a team, learning from each other and growing stronger together. Lumi chirped softly, and Alex smiled. He realized that she had become more than a companion. She was his guide, his friend, and a symbol of the wonder and beauty of Viralia. Together they had discovered not only the secrets of the forest, but also the power of connection between two beings from different worlds. As sleep claimed them, Alex felt hope and excitement for the days ahead. The forest of Viralia was vast, mysterious, and full of life, but he knew that with Lumi by his side, they could face anything. Their journey was not just about exploring a planet. It was about discovering friendship, trust, and the joy of learning together. In the quiet glow of the forest, Alex whispered softly, "Thank you, Lumi, for everything." She chirped in response, pressing close, and together they rested, ready for the next chapter of their adventure on Viralia.